Hey friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Gina, and if you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and welcome back. Today, if you couldn't tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about my 2025 knitting intentions, which is pretty much me showing you my possible projects that I want to knit over the course of this year and the intentions behind them. So the overall intention for my knitting this year is to, one, use my stash, and to two, have almost every project have a bit of texture. Now, for these two intentions, they don't have to coincide in the same pattern. Some of the patterns that I'm going to talk to you today have no texture in them whatsoever, but they will be using my stash. My main goal is to use my stash yarn because my collection of yarn is getting quite ridiculous and I can't keep bringing in new yarn without using the old. So I'm trying to do a little clear out. So in the midst of me talking about these patterns, I'm going to show you the possible yarns from my stash that I intend to use with them. If you want to see all these patterns, I've made a Ravelry bundle for you to look at. It'll be linked down below. And I've also put chapters along here so that if you just want to skip to a pattern to see the pattern or to see the yarn that I'm going to talk about, you can just go right to that section in the video. So I'm going to get started with the smaller of the projects that I intend to do this year, and two of them I have already started. So the first one, I'm gonna be looking over here, by the way, because my notes are on this side here so I can remember things. The first pattern that I'm going to show you today is actually a hot water bottle cover. It's called the HOTTIE Sweater by Suzanne Muller. It is a very cute hot water bottle cover and it's very basic, but what makes it not so basic is the yarn that I'm using, and that the yarn she kind of asks you to use. So you use a boucle, and I had some boucle in my stash, which is kind of funny because I'm not a boucle girl. I don't like textured yarns because they're hard to see, but I had come across some Woolfolk, I think it's Fetty, whatever their boucle is, and I was like, I have to have it. It's so soft, it's so nice. So I have 3 skeins of this in their like pinkish color, and I'm using this to make the hot water bottle cover. Now granted, I literally only need one of these balls, and I intend to maybe make a little hat or something out of the rest. Maybe one of those popular little hoods, but I didn't plan it out. I've only planned for one ball to be used, so that is that. I've already started this project, but I won't show it here because I'm gonna save that for in my actual podcast video that will be coming hopefully next week. The next project is also another one that I started, and it is the Calville Sweater by Mayweather Knitting. It is a very beautiful like triangle shawl. It has 3 or 4 different textural sections in the shawl itself. It starts off with like a seed, and then you have like, I don't know, this diamond thing happening. I can't remember the order, but it's a very textural piece, and I think I'm really gonna get a lot of wear out of it in the spring when I'm like chilling outside. And I'm using, again, stash. So this one ticks off too, just like the first one, but this one more so with the texture. So I'm using stash. This is the Barocco Alpaca, Ultra Alpaca, sorry. And I'm using this bluish color that I just had sitting in my stash. I have 3 of these, and I intend to, and I hope to be able to use all 3 of them to finish this piece. It's a pretty big one, so I think based on the yardage in the Ravelry notes of the pattern, I should be able to use all 3 and not have any left over. So very happy about that because I don't want a lot of leftover from these pieces, and if I do, I don't know, I'm gonna make a scrappy something, you know. The next project I want to talk about is another accessory, and this will be the last accessory in this whole lineup of patterns, and it is called Promises in the Dark Yeah, Promises in the Dark by Cheryl Faust. And what's interesting about this project is that I actually don't have all the yarn for this, but I'm still going to be using stash. So I spin as well. I have a Kiwi 3, and so I intend to use some wool that I have hanging around, some fluff, to spin the contrasting color for this project. For the main color of this project, the recommended yarn that they ask you to possibly use is by Harrisville Designs, and it's in their Nightshades collection. And I just so happen to have some of the Nightshades in my stash. I have 3 of these skeins. It's kind of hard to see. It's very dark, but it's like a greenish black color. And it's very squishy. I think this is going to be a very fun project to knit on. This includes another intention that ended up not really manifesting much in the patterns that I picked, by also having some color work involved. And this is mosaic knitting, so it's not like anything stranded, but it has a color work aspect to it, but it has texture. It looks textural because of the mosaic. And so I'll be using this for the main color, and then whatever braid of fiber that I have that I will spin to go along with this DK weight yarn. I'm gonna put this here. And those are all the accessories. I have not started that, obviously, because I don't have the contrast. Everything else from here is going to be garments, sweaters, and there's one dress. So next up on the list, which is something I'm super excited to cast on, and I might cast it on this week, is the Seasoned Sweater by Ozetta. It uses Plutalupi, yes, and a mohair. And I happen to have some Plutalupi in my stash. And whatever their red color is. And then I have some Kid Silk mohair from Knit Picks. This is the A-Loft in the color Cranberry. I purchased this last year during the yarn crawl that we had in our city, and I bought 3 little plates of this, and I do intend to use all 3 plates for the sweater. And for the mohair, I purchased this a couple years ago, intending to make a whole different project, and just never did it. So I have 4 of these. I had 5, but 1 disappeared. I have 4 of these, and they match. I'm sorry this is still in the plastic, but they match almost perfectly. So that makes me really excited about this. And the Seasoned Sweater is it looks like a really simple texture. It's a fisherman's, I think it's a half fisherman's rib, and it's an all over texture. It's a raglan, it's a pullover, it's boxy, it's big. It's gonna be super cozy, and I anticipate it to be very lightweight because I'm using an unspun, and unspun tends to lead to more like lighter, really warm garments. So super duper excited about this one that I will be casting this on next. I'm thinking about using metal needles, which is why I haven't casted it on, because I don't have the sizes and metal tips for this. So hopefully this week I'll be able to get the needles that I need, and then I'll be able to start this project. Okay, so the next 2 projects I'm going to talk about are, I haven't really decided what yarn I want to use, so I'm going to show you the yarn. And it's these 2. These are both yarn. Whoa, these are both yarns that I got in my trip in 2023 to Italy. This, I have no idea what this like brand name would be. This is just some merino. I got like 8 balls of this sitting around. And then I have this like mohair blend of yarn. I'm gonna hold them together in whatever project that I decide to use these for. So the top pattern candidates for this yarn is the Brooklyn Raglan by Tori Yu, or the Ilha Sweater. I hope that's how you pronounce that. The Ilha Sweater. I'm gonna put all this on the screen, by Orlene Shuska. They're both textured in different ways. So the Brooklyn Raglan has texture on the sleeves, and it has a regular stockinette body and a little like scooped hem at the bottom. I think it's very cute. It's a DK weight yarn pattern, so I intend to use both of these together for that one. For the second pattern, the Ilha sweater, I may just use this by itself because it is a fingering weight pattern. I don't know if my gauge is going to get really crazy once I add this in. So that will be something I might not use this yarn for because I really want to pair these two together. I don't want to use this and then have these by itself, even though I have some patterns I could use just mohair with, but I bought them to use together. So for those two patterns, this is the candidate. I have another fingering weight yarn. I forgot to actually grab it, so I'm not going to show it, but it's almost the same combination of, I believe it's Lana Gatto, in like a greenish blue with the Sensia mohair pairing. And I got that this past year in Italy, but I will be showing you all those yarns next video when I do like another sit down. So those are those two patterns. The next pattern, I actually forgot to grab the yarn for this, but oh, I know why I didn't grab it, because I actually have to frog a project in order to make this project. So the next one is the Ingrid Sweater by Petite Knit. Of course, y'all were waiting. When was I going to do a Petite Knit pattern? But this is one of 3 that are in this list this year. I've been looking at the Ingrid forever. And so I think this year I'm going to do it. I'm going to be using Lion Brand's Fisherman's Wool, which originally I was using for a whole nother project. I was making a beautiful crocheted cardigan, but I hate it. So I'm going to frog it and use that yarn to make the Ingrid. So that's why I actually don't have it, because I have to rip out this seamed crocheted cardigan that I've been working on for months to make this. So the Ingrid is something that is going to happen later in the year because I have to bring myself to frog the project to get the yarn back. So there's that. Staying on the Petite Knit kick, we're looking at the Jenny jacket, the V-neck. So I guess there's a scoop neck, but the V-neck version. I love this pattern. It has texture in it. That's everywhere. These little like V's. I don't really understand how you make them, but I will when I get there. And I intend to use 2 yarns because, of course, like most of her patterns, you use like a strand of something with a strand of something. And I only have the mohair to show you today. So this mohair I got in December in Italy. It is a green, very beautiful, very long, like staple. You can't see it, but it's got like a crazy halo on it. Anyway, I'm going to hold this with a plain white. I do that a lot. The sweater is the same, where I held a mohair, a colorful mohair with a white base. So that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to use, I have a massive white cone of wool that I'm going to hold this with to make that pattern. So, and I have like 9 of these. I didn't intend to get 9, I bought 6. And then my sister-in-law gave me 3 more because she had them and didn't need them anymore. So that just made my stash bigger without me really planning on doing so. And then my last Petite Knit pattern, which has no texture, but will be using stash, is the Chestnut Sweater. I wanted to make this dress last year, but I had dress burnout after making my stripe pipe dress, and I didn't feel like making another super long dress, especially in a thinner gauge. So the yarn I'm using for that is just a random wool in a cone. It's a big old cone. The thing is, I have 2 of these and I don't think I'm gonna need to make this project, but that is totally fine because if I could just wean down one of these cones, I'm gonna feel so good. And it's super thin. I'm pretty sure like a light fingering to fingering weight yarn, 100% wool. It smells kind of like cedar right now because I put a lot of like cedar things in my stash. And I will be holding this with a cone of brown mohair that I have that I didn't pull out because I forgot. But I will be holding it with this mohair, the mohair, and then this, and they're both brown. The pattern's example is brown. It just so happened that I'm making it in the same color. Super excited. So sorry, I have a terrible cough still going on. Okay, so let me see. I'm looking at my list here. That is everything petite knit, which is good for me. I need to knit some other people's patterns. The other, okay, here we go. So the other project is by Knitting for Olive and is the late summer wrap. I was kind of loving that ballet core aesthetic that was going around last year and had every intention to knit this last year, but I just didn't have the yarn, or I just couldn't find the combination of yarn I really wanted to do to make it. So I think I figured it out. I'm holding 2 yarns. I have to do a gauge swatch to see because this particular yarn is very thick for a mohair blend. I show you, like, that is very dense. It's like purpley blue, pink. I don't know why I got this, honestly. I have 6 of these, and so I have about like a little under 2,000 yards worth of this yarn. So I need to use this up so I never have to look at this in these balls again. And I intend to hold this with this blue cone that I have. So I'm going to be hopefully pulling out the blues in this. I have knitted these 2 together to see what they were going to look like, and I don't hate it. So all I have to do is just make a bigger swatch to see if I hit gauge, if I'm too big, which is my concern. And if it is, then I'm gonna have to like switch this out and not use this yarn for that project and find something else or gift it, because at this point I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. But that's for that project. I'll put these over here. And then the last 2 are like super simple projects that both use the same kind of texture, essentially. So the first one is the Ripple Bralette. Everybody knows this pattern. It's by Jessie May. I've knitted this before years ago, but I made it too small. I was very sad. So I intend to make this again. And this is going to be one of those projects where I'm going to hopefully be able to make more than one in the course of the year, because it uses up fingering weight yarn, and it's nice. It's a nice layering piece. So I intend to maybe make one out of like a cotton, and then to make some out of wool to wear under my sweaters in the wintertime. So the first one I intend to make, I'm going to use Modium and this rosy color that I have. I have a couple of these in my stash, and I wanted to really use all of them in one project, but I just can't find a project that I really want to use all of them for. So I will start with a Ripple Bralette and then maybe make the Ripple crop top too with the rest, and that would just be my little like combo. So I'm gonna use this 100% wool, super simple little layering piece in my color family. Love it. Done. Is ribbed. I really don't like doing ribbed anything, but because I really want to, I love the fit of all the Ripple projects, I'm going to suck it up and knit the 2x2 rib that this pattern requires endlessly. Now I say I hate doing rib, but the next project is also ribbed, and this one also might change in yarn. But so far, I'm leaning towards this yellow unknown yarn because someone gave me like 10 balls of this. And I was like, yeah, I love this. I want it. It's yellow. I'm gonna make a whole sweater. Well, it's been sitting in my stash for like maybe 6 months now, and I need to use it. So I think what I'm going to use this for is for the last pattern in this collection that I'm going to talk to you about today. And I know I'm going to butcher the naming of this pattern. So is Ryoanji, I believe. Who knows? It's by Ilha. They make the yarn. Y'all probably know what I'm talking about. And this is a very beautiful ribbed textured skirt. So I first saw this pattern in a Lane magazine. I believe it was issue number 19. I have it, but it's in my bookshelf. And I was just looking at this pattern. I said, oh my goodness, this skirt is beautiful. I love it. I love the length. I love the way it holds, like it hugs the body a little bit. And the texturing of the rib, the way it branches out from the middle and comes out, is just so nice and flattering that I think it'll be a beautiful staple piece in my wardrobe. And so I think keeping it fun and not making it super boring by making it in this yellow would be very fun. I also contemplating on using this for that because it has nylon. Well, not nylon, there's polyamide in this as well as the wool. And she does recommend using a sock yarn, and I just don't have a lot of sock yarns in my stash. I don't like to have too many yarns that have synthetic material in them. I'm trying to branch away from that, but you know, sometimes you gotta do what you have to do. And with the cones, some of them have the polyamide in it and it's fine, and other ones don't. So I could use this, or I might use the blue. I also could use this because I have enough of this to make that, and probably still have enough to make the ripple crop. And then I'll end up with like a cute little set, which would be really fun. But that is the last project on the list. That went kind of quick. So if you want to check out all these patterns, everything is going to be down below. Any of the yarns that I can link, I will, but don't hold me to it. Because of course just use what's in your stash. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me. Feel free to leave me a comment on any of the things that you've seen in this video. Were there any patterns that you are interested in, or what are your intentions for 2025 this year in your knitting or crocheting or crafting goals? I would love to know. And plus, like, I'm nosy. I want to see what patterns you guys are making. So feel free to let me know in the comments. Like, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe so that you can help me out in this crazy algorithm world. And that is all. Enjoy your week. Try not to get sick like me. And see you next time. Ciao.